Yo, what's cracking, guys? Faison here, and today I want to briefly talk about the general direction the TCG metagame is headed in. So I understand that a lot of the people that watch me are Master Duel players, but if you are even remotely considering entering the TCG, now is a really good time to hop in. We are coming off of the most expensive format that I've seen since my time rejoining the game, but we are heading into one of the cheapest formats ever, arguably. The game is going to get increasingly more affordable, and you're going to be able to play tier 1 decks with minimal investment. We're talking like sub $100 for a completed deck. And how do I know this? Okay, so in front of me there is the OCG metagame breakdown from Road to the King. They do this weekly to kind of show you who's winning in the OCG. As the OCG is like 3-ish, 4 or 5 months sometimes ahead of us because they get their releases earlier, you can use this as a rough predictor of what's going to be good here after we have all the same releases. Right now, the over a quarter of the top cut is dominated by Branded Despia and Fluanderies, and it's honestly starting to push more to like 1/3 of the total tops once you consider Adventurer Tenyi. At the moment, Adventurer Tenyi and Fluanderies in the TCG are already tier 1 decks easily. Branded Despia is not because we're missing the structure deck that really makes it. And while Adventurer Tenyi and all these Hulk Vibrax decks are very, very expensive, and they're why the price tag of the game is so high right now, Fluanderies is already a pretty cheap deck. There's really only two expensive cards in the deck, one being Pot of Prosperity, sitting at like 120 or so dollars, and the other one being Rise of the Mega Monarch. The thing about this deck is Pot of Prosperity is negotiable. Obviously, it's the best in slot for a consistency card, but you could run Pot of Extravagance and get some similar functionality out of it. And like that has been shown because people are topping in regionals with Fluanderies playing Pot of Extravagance instead of Prosperity. Obviously, the Prosperity is going to get you farther, but it's not a downgrade that's going to be so noticeable that you just can't play without it. And additionally, the Mega Risa, which was sitting at a cool $70, is now slowly creeping down to 40, and it's honestly going to keep dropping. The thing that's keeping the high price tag of that card is the fact that it was printed back in like 2015 or so, has not received a new printing since, and people just don't have them anymore. Like, you lost them because they were useless back then. No one expected them to be used in a tier 1 deck 5, 6, 7 years down the road. But that being said, it's getting a reprint in Ghost from the Past 2 as an ultra rare. We're expecting that this is going to keep on tanking the price of the card because it's going to just flood the market with them. And you only really need one. Some lists occasionally play two, but like it's a one of, it's printed in a set with only ultras as an ultra, and it's going to be very accessible as a result. Um, Next, moving on, we have the Branded Despia deck. As I mentioned, we actually do not have this deck yet in the TCG because we are missing a structure deck, Albaz Strike. And the main thing that was pricing the people out of this deck is the fact that Aluber, Jester of the Despia, the guy who searches your branded fusion, he is like a $150 card almost. But they just announced yesterday that he is also getting a reprint in Ghosts from the Past 2. As a result, this deck is going to become increasingly affordable as well. Alubers are probably going to settle, if I had to guess, around like $40 a pop. That being said, you actually don't need three of them. A lot of lists standard in the OCG, we're only playing two to begin with, and if you play some kind of variant, you're gonna need one, maybe even none. Like, I know I've been testing a lot of variants personally because I think the best thing that Albaz Strike has to offer is the fact that it's just an engine ultimately. You pay three installments of like 10-15 bucks to get three copies of the deck, and now you have a very consistent fusion engine, much like the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer engine, or before it the Red Eyes fusion engine. But as these engines have become more and more printed, they just keep getting better. The Mirror Jade, which you end on with the Albaz stuff, is, in my opinion, better than Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer because even though you can only use it once every 2 turns instead of once every turn, it's a lot more consistent because you don't have to play as many bricks. Rather than the two Destiny Hero monsters, you actually only need the one Albaz. And on top of that, Albaz isn't dead if you draw him. He can normal summon, then fuse with himself and your opponent's monster as a normal summon himself. And so, in that way, he's a lot more consistent than the Destiny Heroes. And Before them, you had to play the two Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon, which are normal monsters, which is even worse. So these engines just keep getting more and more consistent. They use less and less bricks, and this one is going to be the most accessible of all because you realistically can do it with even one structure deck if you really wanted to, but I think three is the way to go. You can play it in so many different things. I know personally I'm already testing it with Invoked, with Eldritch, and with Tri-Brigade. I think all of these decks have like really high tier competitive potential, and it's just going to take some time to figure out the tweaking of it exactly. But that being said, all of the decks I just mentioned, Invoke, Tri-Brigade, and Eldritch, are decks that you can buy the entirety of the engines for like $20-$30. That plus three structure decks, you got $60. With some of these variants, like the Eldritch one, you don't even really need hand traps, which is where a lot of your money is going to go anyways. So you could play like a tier 1, tier 1.5 deck for as little as like $60. That is incredible. I have never heard of that prior to this release. And yeah, like even if you wanted to play hand traps, the best hand traps right now, in my opinion, are Nibiru, Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre, and totally blanking on the last one, Ash Blossom. And out of those five, Ghost Ogre and Effect Veiler are in the structure deck. You get 40% of the useful hand traps of the meta printed in the deck. And if you ultimately decide that the branded stuff isn't for you, guess what? You get half of a Dragon Link deck in this as well. It's actually insane. Yeah, I think that the value on this is incredible. I am not here trying to sell you something. I don't get any money from this. I have no affiliate links to send you guys towards. I am just saying that if you are considering playing the structure deck, or rather the TCG more broadly, you really need to buy this structure deck. This is the perfect segue into playing the game at a competitive level, and expect a lot of content from me regarding the structure deck. I'm personally super high on it. I love it. I think it's very cool. I love the fact that you can throw it in anything, and it makes a lot of other decks more viable. And I expect to be playing many different variants of it. I think I'm going to be starting a series on my channel where we kind of analyze the deck from its starting point. I'm going to show you guys the best way, in my opinion, to build it if you're opening just three structures with nothing else, and then how to best spend your money towards modifying the deck and making it more viable. And I'll show you how I would play it at every different price point, as well as the different variants that I think have potential. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see regarding this deck, and make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me know what kind of stuff you guys are looking for me. It lets me know what I'm doing right and wrong, and ultimately it keeps me motivated to keep making content for you guys. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.